Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news.
Big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewy. How are you, love?
Kia ora, Pat. I am here.
Everything?
Which almost wasn't a thing.
Oh, that's lovely.
so
Perfect
yes.
timing.
Happy Mondays.
Happy Monday. So because we've only just connected during the credits, you know what I'm going to ask you. Oh, a little bit of noise in the background.
Oh, yes, I can hear all of that.
A
All
little
is
bit
well.
fading away. Okay, that was our sound check.
Mhm.
Hey team, how are you all? Well, Chewy, how are you, sir? People in the chat, Friday night, I watched over the weekend. Great show, great people, great group, and people in the chat. I want to hear from you. If you were there, what you thought, if you thought over. Oh, love the new look, team. We didn't even get a chance to talk about it, Chewy. See, there's new graphics and stuff for what we're doing.
In red.
You see that they're red and they're the same hex color as the BHN logo. That's how flash we're getting.
Oh,
And if you go, Chewy, this is a real behind thing. If you go to brand on your menu, is it brand? And then go into preview and go into the edit at the very top, which says you as host. And then you go down and click on show headlines. You can put a little white headline underneath, like I got. See, I've got that little white headline down there, that little white one.
I see what
You
you've
can
done.
put that on as well. So if you want it, don't have to. If you want it, yeah, kia ora whānau. And see our little things now. They're cornered. They're curved at the corner. See that? It's curved.
Oh, that's it. A certain sense of class. A higher level of production.
Busy old weekend, eh? Pardon me. Busy old weekend. I've got a very quick story to tell about my weekend and what I got up to. As many of you know, if you don't know, and you've seen any of the clips of us, or me, from a couple of years ago, I have dropped about 60 kilos over an 18-month period, and I've been plateauing for about the last 6 months or so. And Chewy, well done, mate. Unfortunately, I've just started to creep up a little bit. I've put a few kilos back on. I'm like, no, this is not finished yet. This is not finished yet. So in the weekend, I made a bit of a commitment. As of Saturday, it is 84 days until I get married. Right? So that was 12 weeks Saturday until I get married. And I kind of finally thought, I'm sick of all this. I'm sick of this bullshit. I'm sick of arsing around and, plateauing and you're just not really doing anything. So I put out to the public this. I put it up from Twits. Okay, so people, that's the second one I put out. The first one was, anyone want to join me in my self-imposed 12-week challenge? I'm getting married in 12 weeks from today. My challenge is 50 exercise sessions in 84 days. Anyone else in? People were asking about it, so I said, what's the plan for the 12-week challenge? Any kind of exercise you want, something that is a workout though, heart rate up, etc. We can call it 50 and 84 and post when you've done it. That was me, Jim, today. That was 1 out of 50, so one session out of 50 and 84, and 49 to go. So I've started that, and then if you look up on my Twitter, look, day 2, I did one on day 2 as well, 2 and 50, 48 to go. And then today I went for a bike ride, 3 and 50, 47 to go. So if anyone wants to join in, I'm not going to be exercising every single day. I think that's ludicrous. And from going for doing 1 or 2 days exercise a week, it's now going to be up to more like somewhere between 4 and 5. That was my big commitment over the weekend, and I put it out there to the publics. And you put it out to the publics, and you got to stick by it, don't you? So that was my big weekend.
Otherwise, your fans hold you accountable.
Yeah,
and you'll
fans.
be
That's a weird
burned
word.
alive.
Yeah, so and there was a whole bunch of people on in the Twitterverse who are like, "Oh, yeah, we'll do it, Pat. We'll do it with you. We'll come do it." So yeah, we'll see. If you're interested, go check out me on Twitter. I can actually even show you through right there. There's my Twitter right there at Pat Brittenden. And be a part of it. And yeah, so 25th of January is my wedding day. So we're going to do it. Probably if I can knock off 10, that means I'll be below where I was officially at 60 but still with a bit more to go. Yeah. So that's me. Rocking and rolling. How are you, mate? How's your weekend?
Oh, yeah, but say like I don't know. It's one of those things where I felt busy but accomplished nothing.
Oh, nice.
So you've got to celebrate your wins.
Yep.
And I guess in hope, I bought the traditional dump the Trump behemoth beer, and I
Nice.
hope in a couple of days' time I'll be able to crack that. Going cool. Last time I cracked one of those beers, Trump lost. So I hope that it is the same again. I was talking to a friend of mine over in the US, and she was just like, it's hard to pretend that we're not all on edge,
Yeah, right.
no matter what the outcome is.
Yeah. Well, we are going to have a look at some of that stuff today, especially the doom spiral that Trump's started to go into. Another thing I put up on Twitter, and this is going to be going until the show, just before the show starts tomorrow, because the show starts tomorrow at 9. We go live at 9 p.m. in case you're not aware. And of course, before the next show, so before the Wednesday, we may well know who has won. Now, we may not either, but we may know who has won. The results start coming in at kind of between 2 and 4 Wednesday afternoon our time. So I put a little poll up on Twitter, Chewy, thinking that Twitter is a cesspool of right wingers. Who's going to win the 2024 US election? Kamala Harris, Donald Trump? No idea. 2/3 of the people who have responded, and what are we up to? Well, it's a whole 241 votes. Think Kamala Harris. Now, I don't know whether that's because of the echo chamber of the people who follow me, or maybe Twitter's not quite as right-wing and toxic as everyone says, but I seem to be able, when I say something negative about the right or positive about the left, I seem to get a lot of right-wingers follow me on Twitter then, but in that poll, maybe not quite so much. And I think what we'll do, Chewy, I do have an opinion on who I think will win now and why. I think we'll hold on to those till tomorrow night, though, because tomorrow night's going to be the big show before the election. And before people even ask, we won't be doing a live stream of the show of the results. What we will do, though, is we'll send you through to guys like Sam Seder in the Vanguard and David Packman and Brian Tyler Cohen, and we'll put some links up on Facebook and stuff for those guys, because it's like they're the ones who have been following this for years, doing dozens of stories a week on them. They're the ones to check out. If it was about the All Black games over the weekend, then I would hope those guys would direct them to us. But you know what I'm saying, they're the experts in it, so we'll do that. We'll obviously have a review show on Wednesday night as to what has happened, but that's I think that's pretty much where we're at. Just quickly, Kiwi Bird says Friday was a great show. Thank you, Kiwi Bird. I appreciate your super chat there. And Campbell says new tags, new corners, Chewy new webcam. Thank you for the super chat.
I'll say to you now what I said to you in the chat, Campbell. Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
Maybe I've been a good boy.
Even our super chats look better, eh? So
They do.
yeah. There we go. Okay. We've got a lot tonight. We've probably got too much tonight, especially because there's just been a story that's come out about old mate Costello and what's happened, and we could do a half hour on Costello. So we're not going to do a half hour on Costello, but what I will show you, Chewy, is a bit of a teaser for tomorrow night, is at the end of the story on One News tonight, the reporter said that very recently they'd received a statement from Casey Costello. They hadn't talked to her all day. They tried, but they received a statement. So I'm going to just play you this last bit as a teaser for you guys for us talking about it tomorrow.
That's right. We've been trying to get an interview all day long with Casey Costello without success, but then just a few minutes ago, we've got quite an extraordinary statement from her. But Casey Costello has said that she's gone and read these emails today, and when she looks at them, she sees it as another attempt.
They're the emails from people who are advising Casey Costello in the Ministry of Health, who are saying that some of the research that she was citing was anywhere between out of date and crap, right? So that's the emails that Casey Costello is citing. And again, we're not going to go into the story, but Casey Costello responded to what the Ministry of Health was saying.
Another attempt by public servants at the Ministry of Health to try and undermine the government's efforts to reduce smoking in New Zealand. She said that after reading these emails, she's called the Director General of Health and said to her that she must make an effort to make sure that public servants at the Ministry of Health, really live up to those public sector standards of integrity and political neutrality. So we've got this quite incredible issue now.
Yeah, that'll do. I mean, so you've got the gist. So Casey Costello is going, basically, I'll put it this way, she's going full Trump and going, anything said bad about my thing is she's not blaming the media, but she's blaming her own department for pointing out that some of this research was from Philip Morris themselves. That's apparently not being politically neutral and trying to undermine what she wants to do. Massive story. Don't have time for it tonight. We'll get to it tomorrow. Chewy, I'm going to be firm here. I'll give you 60 seconds if you want to have a chat right now on it. And
Yep.
go.
Cool. Go. Public servants have to serve the public, and if that means talking back to the minister and going, hey, this is bullshit, I think that's well within their purview. When she talks about political neutrality, that can't be a public servant going out going, National is bad, Labour is good.
Yeah.
That's political neutrality. I know quite a few people that work in public sector, IRD, Ministry of Health, that sort of thing, and they are, every single one of them, very cautious or avoid voicing a particular political view because they know what's involved with being a public servant.
And Luxon looked like a complete cuck today when he got asked about that. As I said, we'll do it in more detail tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be on the breakfast shows tomorrow as well, because that was late breaking news just before One News went out. Luxon just looks like he's been completely neutered by ACT and New Zealand First, because they were saying, is this appropriate? And he's going, yeah, I expect it. All her research is good, after they've just shown how it's not. So there's a story we're not going to talk about tonight. There's another story we're not going to talk about tonight, but I'll give you a clip. You know, we love Mehdi Hassan, right? So we love it when Mehdi Hassan goes on Piers Morgan, but for the first time, Piers Morgan has gone on Mehdi Hassan. Oh, and he didn't have the ability to go. He didn't have the ability to go, look, I'm doing the interview here. I asked the questions because he was the guest. And this is a YouTube short, which means it's less than 60 seconds. And again, we will get to this later in the week.
Do you condemn Benjamin Netanyahu's terrorism against the children of Gaza?
I wouldn't categorise it as you do as terrorism, although I do think that they've committed some acts which I do think are acts of terrorists. You're not going to get me to
So terrorism, acts of terrorists, so terrorism.
say that what Israel's been doing is terrorism, because I believe they are defending
Why
their
not,
people.
though, is what I'm wondering. But you said 40 babies killed, some of them being beheaded. That's false.
Right.
None of them were beheaded.
Right, okay.
And
so,
you said it as fact.
Okay, but why are you defending Hamas?
That's your response. So when I say to you, for example, is Trump a racist? Yes or no?
I don't think he is. No.
So why does he say racist stuff?
I don't think he's a racist.
No. Why does he say racist stuff? Why does he
him-
say racist stuff, Piers?
Mehdi, I don't know.
This is my favourite quote. To those who warned this was what was going to happen with Trump, you've been proven right. It's a sobering moment. Yeah, I was right and you were wrong. But I don't see any humility from you today when it comes to Trump.
No.
So there you go.
Wow. That's awesome to see.
Yeah, I think, I've had a look on YouTube and it's not on YouTube. I think you have to be a member of the TAO to get it. I will join. I will join to get that. And then we'll have a look at it on another day during the week.
Look, Piers is a really divisive figure in the way that he does his interviews, and to take that controlling power away from him and just go, well, no, doing terrorist act is being a terrorist, yes or no?
Yeah.
That seems like a blood sport to me, and I'm here for it.
Last thing before we get into some clips, and there's a lot tonight, is this. I put this tweet out today, and this is where we'll start the clips with the meltdown of Donald Trump at the moment in the US. Hey, America. Thomas Jefferson said, the government you elect is the government you deserve. 48 hours until the world sees who you deserve. And if you can't see the video imagery, well, the image, we'll get back to that because we'll just get into the conversation now and find out what's going on. So we've got a bit of let's see what's happening with Trump over the weekend our time. I wanted to show this. This is just, I know we don't need to show his lies, but I want to show you this bit. So he had mic troubles, technical glitches. These things happen. And I'll just show you a real simple comment he made because he lies about the most inane things. Here's Trump over the weekend.
Oh, that's what I was
They're
wondering
yelling,
what
"Fix
the hell
the
they
mic."
were shouting. I think this mic stinks, by the way. And then we
your
don't pay
mouth's
the
on it.
contractor. I say, don't pay the contractor. Then they write a story. Trump doesn't pay his bills. He's a bad guy. No, the mic is terrible. I had another one. You know what? I've done 3 of these today.
That was his second rally of the day. I know it's like it's kind of pointless and silly, and it goes by all the other things. But that was his second rally. I've done 3 of these things today. It's as stupid as that. All right, here we go. Let's get into the guts of it. Now, remember, America, you get the government you deserve. Here's Donald Trump giving the microphone a blowjob. And not like, I'm not like saying, isn't that funny? We caught him out a kind of actually performing, simulating oral sex on the microphone. Could be President Donald Trump in 48 hours.
The only thing I ask for is a mic. You don't have to give me, I don't even need a stage. I don't give a damn. Give me a good mic. And I went through 2 of these today. And it knocks the hell out of your throat. But so far I'm doing okay, right? Okay. Is that better? Yeah.
Keep watching.
And did you notice
if
I
you haven't seen
also, I came in today, I said, and you know, this is after 4 of these things. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, I'm a human being, right? I come in, and here's the problem. I said, oh man, it's too low. I said, it's too low. So, I had to go.
That would be the President of the United States of America, Chewy, simulating oral sex onto a microphone. But it hasn't been just as bad and embarrassing as that. It has been, on some levels, dangerous. Here he is talking about Liz Cheney being in front of a firing squad.
Is it weird for you to see Liz Cheney, that'd be Dick Cheney's repulsive little daughter, running against you with Kamala Harris?
Well, I think it hurts Kamala a lot, actually. Look, she's a deranged person. But the reason she couldn't stand me is that she always wanted to go to war with people. I don't want to go to war. She wanted to stay in Syria. I took them out. She wanted to stay in Iraq. I took them out. I mean, if it were up to her, we'd be in 50 different countries. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know,
so there's the would-be President of the United States of America suggesting that maybe Liz Cheney, former politician, daughter of Darth Vader, should be put in front of a firing squad. Here's one more. This one's out today. This is where he suggests that to get to him, where he's behind all this bulletproof glass now, one way you could do it is if you shot through the press corps.
At his Pennsylvania rally this morning, Trump said he should have never left the White House.
Sorry, that's going to be the second clip. The first clip is about him saying that he should have indeed not seceded. That's the right word, isn't it? And he should have actually stayed in government, even though he was voted out.
After he lost the 2020 election.
we've been working for 9 years. We did a great job. We had the best economy ever. We had the wall. We had everything. I built over 500 miles of wall. They don't even talk about the wall.
It's because it's not true.
We had the best border, the safest border. I won't pull down my world's favorite chart because I don't want to waste a lot of your time. But my world's favorite chart, done by the Border Patrol, it said we had the safest border in the history of our country the day that I left. I shouldn't have left.
So I shouldn't have left, just confirming what everyone says about him trying to steal the election. He now says he basically shouldn't have. Got a couple more, super quick, Chewy. This is the one where he talks about shooting through the press, I believe.
I have a piece of glass over here, and I don't have a piece of glass there, and I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much, because I don't
So
mind.
there you go, Chewy. Your cult leader is telling you he doesn't mind if you shoot through the press corps. I've got two other little things I'm going to show, but there's the bunch of the meltdown from Trump over the weekend. And let me say this. There are people suggesting, we'll talk about this more tomorrow. Have you heard the term herd the herding of polls. The herding of polls is what they're saying. And what they're suggesting is that the pollsters are basically too scared to put out accurate polls, so they're herding them. They're actually falsely making them 48, 49, 49, 49, because they don't want to be proven wrong on election day. They want to make it look close. Now, the problem with that is if she wins by a decent margin, she wins by 5, 7, if it is a cakewalk, then all these pollsters who are being accused of herding the results will add to his delusion and his voters' delusion that it's a stolen. It's been 49-49 all the way through. How could it be 54-46? It's been 49-49 all the way through. How could it be 52-48? If that herding is going on, and if Kamala Harris wins, it's going to add to the danger. But sorry, Chewy, you can jump in on any of those comments you've just heard so far.
Yeah, look, I think his absolute, he's lost his, like, was there a lot to lose? I don't know, but whatever he had, he lost over the weekend. There was the garbage truck thing.
And he couldn't open the garbage door.
Like, he couldn't open the door to the truck. Yeah, like it's just mad. And every one of these polls that has come out and go, oh, it's still neck and neck. It's still neck and neck. I'm just like, why? Every interview with a Trump supporter at this point, they can't articulate why they're voting for him, apart from the fact that he's best and he fixed something that he never fixed, and he did something he never did. It's so both unserious and serious at the same time. I think he, as much as he's saying that he's crushing Kamala in every state, because of course he is, he's a blowhard, he's also at the same time setting the stage for what happens if he loses.
It's exactly what he's doing.
I think for a country that holds its democratic process, it's absolute, like, the Electoral College is democracy technically, but it's like they've run it through a machine that gives everybody a brain injury. It's the most mental system. But for America, who's very proud of being democratic, have this long history of democratic process and the transfer of power and that sort of thing, they're erecting fences around Tim Walz's house. Several states have put the National Guard on alert. Like, this isn't normal. None of this is normal.
No.
Like, if 100%. This was a smaller country that wasn't the most powerful country in the world, we'd be sending in UN observers to make sure it's a free and fair election. It is madness that this is what they're dealing with.
I'm just going to put something up as well, which is if it's close. There are some people in the chat who are talking about herding like it's a load of bollocks. Just so people know, dead heat poll results are astonishing and improbable, these experts say. It's possible the tied race reflects not the sentiments of the voters, but rather risk-averse decision-making by pollsters. You can read it yourself.
I can believe that.
This near-monolithic picture emerging from multiple polls has triggered suspicions amongst some analysts of herding around the state polls averages by pollsters, cautious of being proved wrong for a third time running after significantly underestimating Trump's support in 2016 and 2020. So for the one or two comments of people who are saying, what are you talking about? That doesn't seem right. Like, we're just reporting what some experts are saying. We're not the experts, but what some experts are saying. I want to show you something else, because this will give you a bit of a giggle as well. I've lifted this from Brian Tyler Cohen's page, and the clip is titled "Trump's Own Cameraman Humiliates Him at His Rally." All right, so have a look at this when he's talking about no empty seats. His own cameraman, apparently.
In 9 years, we've had the biggest rallies in 9 years. We've had the biggest rallies in history of any country, and every rally's full. You don't have any seats that are empty. You don't have anything yet. I mean, the one we had today, you missed a beauty.
Like within seconds of him saying it.
I mean, that was beautiful.
The camera then starts to pole around and show all the empty seats.
Rally, That was on Glenn Youngkin did a great job. The
Dozens
governor of
and
Virginia.
dozens
And they had
and
a crowd there
dozens
that was
and
incredible.
dozens.
And
And it's
we
not just
came
on the
here.
top level, because you might go, well,
We
that's the
don't
top
wanna be
level.
late, but it's very hard when you do
Camera
this.
keeps going
It's,
around,
very hard to
finds
do.
look, all those
We
empty
don't
seats
mind
through
a little
there.
bit. We weren't very late. We weren't very late.
You know,
Just a few
just
minutes.
more and more and more. There's a full area.
Just
That's
a few
obviously nice
minutes,
and full.
Depending on your definition of when it's going to start. But you know, we've
There
been
we go,
doing
the
it,
light
talking
comes
to
up.
some of the people. It's sort
There you go,
of,
some
in a
empties
way it's
there.
sad, in a way it's beautiful.
No empty seats. Oh, look, a
I
few
was
empties
talking
through
to
there.
him,
Oh,
and I
look,
said,
lots
you know,
there.
this is coming to
So,
another of these rallies are
his
coming.
own
We've been
cameraman.
doing them, think of it, for like 9 years.
I don't know
we
what that
started.
means, actually. That was what the clip was headed. And finally, as well, old mate Destiny has been debating up a storm. And like I said last week, there are some things that some of us will disagree on with Destiny. But when it comes to his facts and figures and his positioning on Trump, he's pretty sound. Here is 50 seconds of Destiny challenging a Republican about Trump.
Show me a single fucking clip in the past 8 years of Donald Trump speaking intelligently about any policy decision, domestic or foreign. You will not find a single one, not a single clip of the president of the United States speaking like he has any fucking wherewithal whatsoever about policy. Donald Trump, if you put him on stage right now, he wouldn't be able to tell you what a tariff is. He wouldn't be able to explain the responsibilities of the three branches of government. He wouldn't be able to do it. He doesn't know what the Attorney General is for. He doesn't know what the Department of Justice. He has no fucking concept of any of these things. But he gets a pass by it because the media won't press him on it because they don't want to seem biased and because his supporters are fucking idiots.
Strong word. And another challenge. A reward of $10 for Donald Trump speaking cogently.
About any policy, domestic or foreign, over the past 8 years. Something that where you listen to the guy and you're like, oh shit, this guy knows some shit. He knows some shit.
We'll set up a special email address or something for the submissions.
Show me a...
So there you go. Pretty good. You know, he's pretty strong with his debating. Yeah, so I think it's this kind of thing. We said we won't maybe not talk about it till tomorrow night, but I think there's this idea that it could be really close or it could be a fairly easy win to Harris. There doesn't seem to be much sentiment over there as an easy win to Trump other than Trump sycophants, you know. Now, in saying that as well, obviously, as the pollsters are potentially afraid of, they've been wrong in 2 elections. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Most people who are doing these kinds of jobs, Chewy, are going, I don't know, could be anything, could be this. It seems from looking through all the information out there that the 2 most likely options are incredibly close coin flip or an easy win to Harris. They're sort of the 2 options. So I guess that means either Harris incredibly close, Trump incredibly close, or Harris easily. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust pollsters over there just as much as I don't trust them here. With the added complication that the electoral college is just bananas, makes no sense to me. But yeah, I mean, judging from just how the 2 candidates are behaving, I think Kamala is still in a dead sprint for the finish line. Seems very energized and filling big venues. I think this has motivated a lot of female voters.
Yeah, for sure.
Over there. And I think that has really got MAGA really worried. I saw quite a few comments and suggestions that wives should vote in lockstep with their husbands. And if they don't, then it's akin to cheating. Which is, yeah, I don't think that would pass with most Kiwi women. Have you tried that
most
here?
sane people?
No, it just wouldn't work. But yeah, I think they're worried about that, and I think the issues that are important to women, like bodily autonomy and the abortion rights, and all of this sort of stuff, has really laser focused that particular aspect of the voting public, and like the right wing don't have an answer for it. They don't. And I think the more I think about that, the more confident that I am that Kamala's going to take this. But I've been disappointed before.
Yeah, and also, look, is it really a victory if she wins 51-49? That 49% of the voters voted for that? You know, is that really a victory? You know what I mean? It's like, what does that say about the country? That they can be within 2% or 3% or even freaking 8% or 10%, to be within 10% of that, what we just watched, being the most powerful human being in the world, shit, I would want them to be 95% away from that. A big win for Harris will be up by about 6 to 8, right? Not saying that's going to happen, but that would be considered a big win. To have an 8% gap on that, what does that say about your country? What does that say about the people in your country? It's just, it's mind-boggling.
I have said it before and I will continue to say it. We are looking at the decline of an empire. We're looking at a severely broken country. And I think at this point, nobody has an idea of how to fix it because it's so broken in a multifaceted sort of way. Yeah. There's been an erosion in the foundations of how their government works to such a degree. I don't think that they can fix it. I think they can slow the rot, but they can't stop it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move and we are actually, you talked about women's bodily autonomy. We're going to have a look at a clip. It's quite a long clip later tonight with Sam Seder and Tim Pool. For those who don't know Tim Pool, he is one of those content creators that was getting $100,000 a month from the Russians. Although, to be fair, they are saying we didn't have any idea. It came through a third party. And it was washed well on the way through. He's one of those guys who had quite a high prominence in the Occupy movement. So he went from being sort of this leftist occupier through being one of those people who says, I left the left. And those people who say, I left the left, seem to primarily be doing it because they want to cash the check. And so that's where he sits now. And Sam Seder, friend of the show, went on his show on Friday, their time, Saturday, our time. And there's quite an interesting segment where they talk about abortion and the laws around it. So that's what we're going to have a look at tonight. Before we do that, though, let's get to some chats. This name is taken, try again, for $5. Thank you for the super chat. Luxon should tan his head. He'd look like a walking cigarette. You probably would, actually. Mr. Arvid says for $2, audio file. Okay. Bud says Trump acts like he's been eating weed cookies all day. Yeah, I can see how that looks there. Oh, this name is taken, try again. Thank you for your super chat. In a normal world, neoconservatives and socialists would not agree with each other, but that just tells you how insane things and Trump are voting Kamala. How insane things and Trump are. Full stop. Vote Kamala. Gotcha. Yeah, and I was watching, I think it might have been One News again tonight, and they had a American-Palestinian protester, and the question was asked, who's better for the war in Gaza? And I said, like I do, so I'm looking at the screen going, no one. And the Palestinian American protester said, no, I can't vote for either of these guys. Because you're right, it's like corporate and finance is at the top of the ticket for both sides. Donors are for the top of the ticket for both sides, and they really need a transformational change if they're going to be actually the democracy they pretend that they're being. Sorry, Drew.
I guess it's strange for us here in New Zealand where foreign policy is so important because we're a small country that has to trade with people. In America, foreign policy does not factor. It's not even in the top 5 for people. They can't point in a map the countries where they're militarily involved.
Yeah.
And Gaza is a small place. It is smaller than most US cities. So why the fuck would US voters care? And I hate saying that. It's not right. America is, in its better moments holds itself up to a level of justice, I guess. We know that that's not accurate, that they're wrong as often, if not more times than they are right. But the only way that the stuff in Gaza stops if America fucking notices. And neither of the candidates have said anything but stay the course. Biden hasn't stopped anything. Kamala's not going to stop anything. Trump's not going to stop anything. If I was a Palestinian living in the US, I get that vibe. That why would you vote for any of them?
Yeah. No.
And that sucks. I would hate to be in that position.
And it's horrible that for such a long time, when we've been talking about American politics, it's always like when Bernie came through in 2016 and stuff, it's always been, well, you either, the thing needs to be burnt to the ground and rebuilt. But then again, what you're risking is Trump being president. So do you hold your nose and vote Kamala anyway? But then if you do that, then you're just supporting the system that's not doing what you need it to do for the Palestinians or for your causes. And why would they change if every single time you're going to hold your nose and vote for the Democrat, say, because the Republican would be exponentially worse? It's such a tough position to put them in. And that's why, their system is so cooked compared to, even though MMP is not perfect, the Greens have a voice, the Māori Party has a voice, Labour has a voice. There's some other parties that have a voice, which I don't want to talk about. But it's not like either, it's not binary. It's not this or that. It's not this or that. And so all those guys that they talk about being in the progressive wing of the Democrats, they're the Greens in New Zealand. And vice versa, all of those ones who are in the alt-right version of the Republicans, which actually is now most of them, they're all in ACT, So it's that gives you the difference between where they're at and how cooked their system is. And of course that you don't have to get the most votes to win. That's the other thing.
Yeah. You mentioned the Greens. Obviously there is a Green candidate running for president, like
Jill
she always
Stein.
does, Jill Stein.
Yeah.
I noticed a statement from the European Greens movement that are basically calling for her to stand aside and almost excommunicating her from the Green movement due to the fact that she is most likely a Russian agent. So that's fun. A lot of Arab Americans were holding her up as a third option, as almost like a protest vote.
And then obviously the reality is that just takes votes away from Harris, and that gives Trump another chance to get in. No one who could be voting for Trump is going to vote for Jill Stein. So it's and look, I mean, I'm of the opinion that no one deserves is the wrong word. You don't owe your vote to anybody. They have to work for your vote. And unfortunately in America, they're given such terrible options. The fantastic South Park episode that talks about what is a turd sandwich versus a giant douche. That's actually not too far off what it's been for a very, very, very long time. And they keep on holding their nose and voting for the giant douche. And then there's no reason within this metaphor to bring in a salad option because because the system's still working for the politicians. It's not working for the voters and it's not working internationally. And as I said before, because the party that gets the most votes is not the party that wins. That is ludicrous. Once, since the mid-90s, the Republicans have won the popular vote. Once. And that was in the second term of George W. Bush after the war in Iraq happened. That is the one time that the right has won the popular vote. That's the one time that more voted for the right than the left. Because America, obviously, that stat alone is a left-wing country, but their system is so cooked, it makes it 50-50 when it comes to the presidential election. Anyway, we'll have more on this tomorrow, and we might try and get a guest in or two who knows more about it than us. But before we move on, Kiwibird just wants to know, can Kiwibird please be reminded of why John Key supports Trump? Because I look, not to defend John Key, because maybe he does the opposite. He holds his nose and he goes, that's where I would vote because it's on the right. Just like those progressives hold their nose and they vote for Kamala or for Biden, who's on the left, maybe, or maybe it's just he's a bad person.
I think Key is a very simple creature. That he is very ideologically driven. That the left can't do the economy, only the right can.
Yeah,
and because I'm an economy guy, I was always vote on the right. He's pretty much said this. He will always vote on the right, no matter what they are. So they can be an authoritarian dictator, strong man, Hitler 2.0. He will vote for them because they'll be better for the economy. It's not borne out by any reality at all. There's a great story doing the rounds at the moment with the US ambassador who's friends with him goes, he's wrong on this. And since 1988, Democrats have added something like 50 million jobs And in the same period, Republicans have added 1 million.
Yeah, 51. That's about right. 51 million. I think it might be since the 60s. 51 million jobs being added. 50 million under Democrats. 1 million under Republicans.
I mean, Key's on record as saying that he would vote for a South American dictator. I think it's Balassaro or something. Someone, I think the name's right. That was a right-wing dictator because he would be good for that country's economy. A literal dictator, someone that had been black-bagging his candidates and that sort of thing. John Key, he's not a political operator. He's an economic one.
Yeah. And look, we showed a clip on him a few weeks ago when he talked about how Trump would be better for the economy, and we showed you how that's horse shit. And it's horse shit that the Republicans have historically been better for the economy. The problem is with numbers is they're there and can be seen. Go back and look through. There'll be a clip somewhere on YouTube or Facebook or whatever that'll be that exact. But go and have a look for it, and you will see how much horse shit it is. Brian
The
says
most
in the
strange
chat,
thing
important demos have big wins in both houses too. Yeah, I mean, they've already got the Senate, and they've already got Congress, and they need to win the Senate. They need to retain one and win the other. Sorry, too.
I was going to say with Key, one of the things that he said, which I thought was incredibly weird for someone who did operate in the New Zealand political scene, is he described as Harris as being far further left than anyone. And that's just bananas, because Harris has got more in common with the National Party than she does with anything else from a New Zealand perspective.
Some of her positions are further left than anyone standing for president ever before. But what Americans call left, I mean, I've seen comments in the chat already about the Democrats are hardly a left-wing party. What the Americans call left, she's further to the left than anyone's been. But then again, she's also moving away from some of those previous statements about, defunding the police and, helping pay for Black Lives Matter people getting bail and that kind of stuff as well. She's distancing herself from that. So, I mean, I guess there'll be a lot of people who are progressives who will hope that she gets in and then shows her true colours further to the left. But we'll see. Anyway, hey, let's keep trucking, eh? Because I've got a conversation that popped up on YouTube today. Guyan Espiner does this thing. It's 30 with Espiner.
Oh, hang on. Is that Luxon?
No.
At an interviewer?
No, it's Mr. Clean.
In the same room?
Yeah.
This is unheard of.
I find this kind of hilarious that Guyan Espiner, who I like, and we have talked to before, it's no mock, but at the start of it he goes, 30 minutes, no cuts. And I'm like, you mean like every podcast in the world? I mean, it's such a, we're not going to make any cuts. There's going to be no editing. It's like every live show anywhere in the world, any live interview on TVNZ, no cuts, no edits. Anyway, this is 30 minutes. You should go and watch it. There's so much to actually look at that I've pulled out a couple of things. I have to try and remember what they all are. The first one is them talking about the coalition partners, and did he make a mistake with the coalition partners? Was that an error, a big L on Luxon's account?
Observation, you didn't get much of a honeymoon because the things that stuck in people's craw a little bit were some of the things that you signed up to in those coalition agreements, cancelling the smoke-free generation or putting forward the treaty principles bill, some of the things that the coalition partners were wanted and you sort of had to sign up to or felt you did. Yeah, Did you sign up to things that you shouldn't have? Take the treaty principles bill, for example. Do you regret signing up to
Yes, sorry. We don't need to go any further. The answer is yes.
for that?
No, the reality is I don't like it, and David Seymour doesn't like what we've agreed either in our coalition agreement.
This is really weird, Chewy, and I don't know if this says more about these guys or not, because I'm not to kind of hide the lead here, because he's going to come back saying we were both unhappy, and I thought a king negotiator would be, we want to make a deal where we're both happy. Win-win. But they've made a deal which is lose-lose. I think, what kind of fucking businessman makes a deal where it's lose-lose? What kind of terrible business person do you have to have both parties lose rather than both parties win? He's literally about to say it. Let me play it for you.
But as I said to you before, we have to acknowledge we're in an MMP environment.
But why
not a
did you
first-class
sign up to
process.
something you didn't like? And you think it's divisive, eh?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And I won't support it beyond the first reading.
So but here you are as Prime Minister of New Zealand. You are allowing this division to permeate.
And that's why he owns it, right? Don't let him say this is David Seymour's bill. This is a government bill going through its first reading. He owns it, because without Luxon, this doesn't happen. This is Luxon's bill. He owns it, and he's responsible, has an equal responsibility within government for the division this is going to cause. He cannot be let off that.
No, but let's take a step back, Guyan. You have to say we are in an MMP environment, right? It is a maturing MMP environment. We have 6 parties in the parliament that actually have quite different views from each other. The system that we are asked to manage in and deliver in is an MMP system.
Sure, but you did not have to sign up to that.
Well,
you could have said no.
Well, absolutely. But actually, what we did was we're being very pragmatic to say I don't like it. I didn't get what I wanted. David Seymour and ACT didn't get what they wanted. We came to a compromise as MMP and coalition government requires us to do, and that's exactly what we did. So we won't be supporting it beyond the first reading because it's not something that I do support or think is very helpful.
Let's go.
So a literal lose-lose. His business bona fides, he keeps talking about them. He talked quite a lot about them in this conversation as well. And as good a businessman as he is, he can come in a negotiation to a lose-lose, Chewy. I mean, who's still fooled by this?
Do you know what I think it was? He knew that
a fever dream.
Like, the negotiations themselves didn't go on for that long. But I remember, as always, people bang on about how long the negotiations were, and I think he was negotiating with David Seymour and a clock.
Yeah,
he could have, he's obviously not a good negotiator. Like, if he was going up against Winston, sure.
Yeah.
But Seymour, come on. Like, and again, a lack of understanding of what he was injecting into the New Zealand race relations debate, and that it was just going to be toxic. And he went, form a government or have a spine. And he goes, I'm going to form a government. No, that was his choice. I want to be the boss. I want my knighthood. Damn the torpedoes. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure I can manage this. I've got no experience in it, but I'm going to give it a go. And that's why we ended up with this. That's why, more than anything, these guys talked about a divided country, and what they have delivered us is even more division. And it's not about vaccination or COVID or anything like that. It's about race. Holy shit. You're right. He needs to own it.
Oh, totally. We can't. This is not ACT's bill. This is a government bill. And without Luxon, this doesn't go through. And we've said this umpteen times, right? He wanted power more than doing the right thing. I mean, he just said that the bill that we're supporting through is divisive. He is okayed creating and causing division in this country for the sole purpose of enabling him to be Prime Minister. Let's not get it twisted. He did this so he could lead a coalition government. So he could lead. So he could be the Prime Minister, right? That's why he's done it. So what he's basically saying is, damn the torpedoes, we'll create division, but I get to run government. It's any means to an end. And I just thought, Chewy, what we should start doing is talking more in his language. What it feels like is ACT and New Zealand First have actually executed a hostile takeover of National. That's what they've done. Like, okay, Mr. Luxon, we'll talk business terms. Company B has come in and they've performed a hostile takeover over you and your spine and your leadership and the things that you wanted to do. And they've got you, the so-called party with the power, to support what they want to do more so than anything else. It's a hostile takeover. It's what it is.
I love that he's also blaming MMP. Something that is so new on the block. It's only been around for half my fucking life, and apparently he still hasn't got his fucking head around it because he hasn't been in the country for that long. He doesn't know.
There was an interesting part about the conversation where Mr. Luxon was talking about in his maiden speech. I think that's the right term. He talked about inequality and attacking inequality, and that was a part of what he was going to do. And Guyan brought that up, and then they got into another part of the conversation, which Guyan asked him about other things that he said in his maiden speech to do with his faith-based position, to do with rich men, and it makes for very interesting reflection and reading.
Work on housing.
In your maiden speech, you also drew on your Christian faith, and you gave examples of Christians who had, quote, challenged the rich to share their wealth and help others less fortunate. In what...
I'm sorry, I thought I could hear a laugh coming from your side, Chewy, so I thought I'd give you space.
My.
Yeah, to share, remember, it's really important to share their wealth. Let's go, we'll keep going.
Challenge the rich to share their wealth and help others less fortunate. In what respect are you challenging the rich to share their wealth and help others less fortunate? In what respect are you doing that?
Well, I mean, what we're trying, my point there was actually about, from a faith point of view, I believe that I've got to use the skills, abilities and experiences I have to actually, make an impact as best I can to uplift as many New Zealanders as possible.
Challenging the rich to share their wealth?
Well, that's exactly what you've seen many wealthy people actually putting foundations to places.
Sorry, just to harken back. Do you remember what it means when he stutters? Like we're like playing poker, the tell when he stutters. When he stutters means I got to be careful what to say here. I don't know what to say. What can I say here? Probably need to lie.
You've seen many wealthy people actually putting foundations to places. I was with a number of New Zealand, I've think about one New Zealander in particular who's doing incredible work.
Many New Zealanders, a number of New Zealanders. I'm thinking about one New Zealander. Many New Zealanders. He went through the cycle of many New Zealanders to his example being one New Zealander. Listen again.
Well, that's exactly what you've seen You've seen many wealthy people actually putting foundations to places. I was with a number of New Zealand, one New Zealander in particular who's doing incredible work on education. I've seen other wealthy New Zealanders doing incredible work around making sure.
Philanthropy.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some real generous people in New Zealand.
Can I just say, sorry, Mr. Luxon, the position of your faith that you're sharing there is not about philanthropy. It's not. I mean, it's just not. Sharing your wealth. It's like, it comes from parts of the Bible where it says things like it's easier for a rich man to go through, for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. It's not about that. It's Jesus said to one rich person, give up all your belongings and follow me, because that person had a issue with wealth. It's not about, setting up a charity. It's literally about sharing your wealth, dispersing your wealth. That's what the book is talking about that you say that you follow.
Incredible work around
you're talking about philanthropy.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some real generous people in New Zealand who are successful, who've worked really hard, may have come from tough backgrounds. But I just say to you, there's sort of a bit of a thing which is, we don't want to castigate successful people and through innuendo imply that they're doing something wrong. We need successful people in New Zealand in order to create the wealth creation and actually to support our social institutions and our system.
Because for Jesus once said, blessed are the wealth creators, for they will trickle down through the economy. I mean, come on, bro.
Okay. In terms of fairness in that system, IRD did a study a couple of years ago looking at the 300 top wealthy Kiwis. They said that they paid a median tax rate of 9.4% compared to a middle wealth Kiwi who was paying about 20%. I mean, what's fair about a system where the super wealthy pay half the tax rate that a worker pays?
Well, I could attack that David Parker study about unrealised gains and all that kind of stuff, and paper assets and all that sort of stuff.
Largely it is because we don't have capital gains taxes.
Yeah, but let's have that conversation, right? Let's just take a step back. What has been the biggest problem under national-led governments or Labour-led governments in New Zealand over the last 30 years? The bottom line is that we have failed to drive economic productivity. We're in the bottom.
So then they go into a conversation about economic equality, and Guyan actually says to him, so why are you the bright line test, and you've made it actually more viable for non-economic investment to happen from people buying houses and yada, 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 yada. Chewy, you have a go on that, and I'll probably play one more clip, I think.
He knows what the problem is. He correctly identified it. The problem with our economy is it was not productive enough because we're not producing things. We are buying and selling old houses to each other. We are padding our retirements with other people living in our asset and paying it for us. We are not building. We are not investing in new business and new products. He knows that, but he can't change it because himself, all of his party, all of his donors are up to their fucking eyeballs in property portfolios. It is against their own best interest to change this. And this has been the same, not just for national, but for other governments as well. Nobody wants to fucking touch it. We've correctly identified what the problem has been for 40 fucking years.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pour water on the housing market.
Yep. And
Nobody's brave enough to go, yep, the International Monetary Fund is correct. We need a capital gains tax. We're one of, I think, 3 OECD countries that doesn't have a capital gains tax. And somehow this government thinks that it would be political harikiri to bring one in, even though competing nations with us do it just fine. He's a hypocrite.
Yep. We're going to actually talk about the bright line test next, so it kind of ties in with what you're saying, True. But first of all, Gareth just wants to remind everybody what I'd say to you, Pat, is that Jesus only had to manage a team of 12. Beautiful. Very good. Very good. Very good. Right. Now, old mate Guyan actually missed a really good question here. So I'll explain what it is at the point. This bit only goes for just over a minute, where they are talking about changing the bright line and then selling his apartment.
You shifted the bright line test back, as you said, right, for investment properties for 2 years. That was effective from July 1 this year, right? A couple of months later, you sell your Wellington apartment. So instead of the $70K tax bill you could have got, you get a tax-free capital gain of $180,000.
Yeah, so then that's a classic, isn't it? Like, I mean, every other Prime Minister who's then moving into Premier House gets to sell their apartment. So do you think I should have to keep the
Gets to, doesn't have to though. It's not a rule.
apartment, or can I not sell it if I'm now living in Premier House?
But did you hold off selling that until the rules changed and you didn't have to pay the tax?
Yeah. We got a report at the end of the year to say Premier House is in disrepair.
Can you really tell me though, Prime Minister, that you didn't consider the timing of the bright line test?
Yeah, absolutely. Did not consider it,
Didn't even come into your mind?
Didn't come into my mind. Because, to be honest, Guyan, if you seriously thought I wanted to come to politics to become wealthy, that's not why I've chosen to come to politics.
Notice a little stutter there? He nearly said it again. He nearly said, I'm sorted. But obviously the PR team went off in his head and he managed to just catch it before he got it out.
Come to politics to become wealthy. That's not why I've chosen to come to politics, because I think New Zealand can do a hell of a lot better than what it's been doing. It's got innate potential. I want to realise that. In that particular case, as you well know, Premier House is in a state of disrepair. The report says we need to spend $30 million on it to make it a healthy home and to meet earthquake standards and all that sort of stuff. What we have done over that first 6 months is to make sure we can get some new paint, new carpet, new curtains, and I've moved in.
Now, the question that Guyan missed, which he could have nailed down, was, I don't have it open up, so I'll just ask it. Yeah, all well and good, Mr. Luxon, about selling your house because you're moving into your apartment. What about the other 2 apartments you sold? You sold 3, remember? What about the other 2? Okay, fair go. Fair go. You sell your apartment because you're no longer living in... So I guess he thinks he's going to be living in Wellington House forever. He's never going to need another apartment in Wellington for anything else. Okay, let's just cancel that. What about the other 2 that you got on the market? What about them? That nothing to do with them, has to do with you getting into Government House. What about the other 2? Chewy.
I'm going to say the C word, Pat. It's corruption.
I'm
going to say that. I'm going to say the H word as well. It's hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Like Guyan's right to focus on his maiden speech. That should be a mission statement to use.
Yeah, totally.
Talk, for an MP coming in. This is what I stand for. Luxon put up his faith. Luxon said all those words. Have we seen a single shred that he meant it? No. Nothing. This man has enriched himself. Yes, he's already wealthy. He can poo-poo that away and go, I didn't get into politics to make myself wealthy. The unsaid part, I'm already quite wealthy. Thank you very much. I'm sorted. Well, then why the focus on selling property while you're Prime Minister? And immediately after you removed the bright line test.
And again,
the closest thing we had to capital gains tax.
Sure, and let's say, okay, fair enough. Let's give you your apartment. RNZ. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has put another of his rental properties on the market, moving to sell a third property in his mortgage-free portfolio. So yeah, Guyan, you missed an easy one there, son. But we can point it out.
I would be singing Luxon's praises if he did one easy trick to get Chewy off his case. Before he made his run in politics, he sold everything. Cashed out. Put everything in a fucking blind trust savings account. Had no property. We would have nothing to criticize him on about his property portfolio. Other things, assuredly, we'd be criticizing him on. And I've said this before. This is something that I believe all political operators should do. If you are going to be making decisions that will affect your investment properties, sell them. Cash them out.
Yeah.
You're on our dollar now. We are paying you to do your job.
What's the word
you are
that
literally a state house tenant by living in Premier House.
What's the word that you use when you're not going to vote? You absolve yourself. Absolve yourself? Or maybe if you do, you absolve yourself. Maybe if people have rental properties, they have to absolve themselves from those votes. Maybe that might make a difference if all of a sudden 20 of the, how many? 50? National MPs have to absolve themselves because they've got rental properties. That might make a difference. Just a thought.
But there's it's not just Luxon, it's not just national. There are a lot of our lawmakers that have investment portfolios, property portfolios, and that sort of thing, because of the way that the changes that came in the early 90s incentivized pouring your money into property. It was a tax black hole. It is a way to absolutely 100% grow your money so you have it in retirement. That's why every motherfucker that can is doing that, because of the very clear benefits. And what Luxon and his cronies have done is removed the only thing we had close to a capital gains tax, that bright line test.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first things on the chopping block. It was so important, it had to be at the front of the queue. Like, that shows you where their focus is. Everything else they have reacted in just an absolute slipshod manner. But right out of the gates, bright line test had to go. All advice said don't do it, and they did it. They did it. What does that tell you?
As Gold says here, he's only got 2 more years in Premier House. What's he going to do for his Wari property then? Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that he's there. So he's probably got his next job already booked up in Canada somewhere. So he doesn't need properties in New Zealand anymore. That's why he's moving on. Thanks to BHN, says Jeremy, I would have turned this smegma off. $2 super chat. Brian on the super chat, Carmelo will legalise marijuana. This name is taken, try again. Thank you for the super chat. It says, so fucking strange to think Lincoln and Trump belong to the same party. Yeah, there's actually really interesting tracking of that as well. If you have a look to the in the 1960s when the law was changed so minorities, black people, could vote in America, basically the Democrats and the Republicans went the opposite way. And there's a really clear, if you look at the policies before the civil rights movement and after the civil rights movement, it's like what the Democrats stood for in the 30s, 40s became what the Republicans stood for in the 70s and 80s, and the other way around. So in other words, Lincoln freed the slaves, but the Democrats after 1960 carry on that tradition. It's a bizarre thing, but all you got to do is read some of the policies pre-civil rights to post-civil rights, and you can see that it's like this. They just change completely. It's quite bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got Sam Seder coming up now with Tim Pool. There are a couple of longish clips. Chewy, do you want to do anything before we get into that?
No, I'm going to put on my Tim Pool hat.
Cool.
Because that always gets pointed out when I wear it. So
Okay.
I'm going to put that on.
So, if you were with us a couple of Fridays ago, Sam Seder joined me for a chat about the election. We talked in that show about him going on Tim Pool. He has a bit of a, I was going to say love-hate relationship, probably a hate-hate relationship with Tim Pool, if we're being honest. And he finally went on, and it's 3 hours. I've listened to all of it. I enjoyed it because Sam is very, very good at what he does. But there's a particular part of, and it was very civil, well, it wasn't civil really, and Sam was very blunt, but it wasn't shouty, and it became shouty when they were talking about abortion. Now, I'll let this, now honestly, this part of the conversation is probably 20 minutes total. I've tried to find a couple of clips out of things I want to speak to, but actually, Sam ties up Tim in all sorts of knots by just kind of going, and how would that work? And who would decide that? And how would that work there? And who would decide that? And this is a part of the conversation where they're talking about if you're forced to carry the baby, the fetus, the unborn child of someone who's raped you, then you are the rapist. By the way, we've just been demonetized. The rapist continues to have some form of power over your life, because you have to carry the baby no matter what. It's a very generalized commentary, but let's have a listen to what they're saying.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again?
The overturning of Roe v. Wade created the legal precedents by which states could begin to remove restrictions.
No. They could. I think they could have done that prior to that. I think they could have done that prior to that.
So the question ultimately is, I'm not going to come down as the supreme judge and just say like it must be. The right is wrong. I say, and I've told Republicans this, if I was a woman that got raped and you told me I had to have a baby, I'd blow my brains out. Like, there is no fucking way you will tell me that I'm going to, by force, without my consent, give my body to someone.
I mean, it's crazy example he gives, saying he'd kill himself, but you can hear pretty clearly he's basically saying that this is part one of this conversation, that you should never force the victim of rape to have to carry a baby. He's basically saying, if that happened, the person would be completely understandable if they took their own life. That's what he's saying.
You are telling that that woman who got raped,
there is some degree of responsibility.
You have to announce this. You need to follow certain procedures as a victim of a crime, and if you don't, we're going to force you to carry that child to term.
Now, backstory. The reason they're telling this is Tim Pool has made the position that abortion's up until 15 weeks. If you are the victim of rape, you need to prove you've been raped to be able to get an abortion at any stage. And that, of course, is the conversation that Sam Seder goes about. Who would decide that? How would that work? So there has to be a court case. No. How would you prove it was rape? What if someone just walked in and said, I've been raped? So that was that whole thing. And so that's just a bit of the prelude to why Sam's talking about you would be forcing. That's the prelude to it.
100%.
Okay.
There is a responsibility we have as victims of crimes as well. And one of the problems we have in this country is that...
That's an interesting theory.
Well, it's true. Right? If you're a victim and you want accountability and justice, you have to go to court.
What if you make the determination that I don't want to go through what is involved with getting accountability and justice, but I also don't want to carry my rapist child? In that scenario, the woman is out of luck, according to you.
If you are not willing to take your responsibilities,
the responsibilities that that the rapist has imposed upon you.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, so this is what do you call this? The Rapist and Power Act?
I suppose you'd say that liberals have a view that they have no responsibilities at all. That there is no
I don't feel like I have a responsibility. I certainly don't feel that if I was someone who could be, I am making an argument.
Well, the Rapist Responsibility Act is an emotional nonsense.
No, it isn't.
We're talking about a person's responsibility to society.
That is exactly what you're suggesting.
It's drama nonsense.
No, it's not drama nonsense.
If you want me to pause at any time, Chewy, this goes for about 4 more minutes total. You just throw your hands up, wave them around like you just don't care. Is there anything, now that we've paused, you want to add anything at the moment?
I just don't understand his position. It's so fucking alien to me.
Well, and what it is if you're imposing that this is a really this is actually from Sam, because Sam is obviously quite nuanced when he needs to be, but the nuance within this is actually Tim doesn't seem to understand that restrictions on abortion leads to women dying, because if there's restrictions on abortions, that means someone makes a decision somewhere that this can or can't happen, and there needs to be an authority to do that, there needs to be a procedure to do that, and ultimately it ends up with people dying. So therefore, does that mean no restrictions? Or does that mean, so this is so it's been a more nuanced conversation to this point, but this is the point where I guess Sam blows the foo-foo valve. So it's the bit at the end that I really wanted to show you. And then there's another clip about after this talking about Tim Pool makes the case that if the unborn is viable of life, then they shouldn't be able to abort it. But maybe what they could do is have a cesarean section and remove that unborn baby and enable it to live, because if it's viable, then it's viable. I mean, this is the world that he's living in. This is the world where he's having to thread that needle of basically appeasing the right-wing, mostly right-wing viewers that support him, the libertarian viewers that support him, and also trying to keep his bona fide of, I was part of Occupy. It's a strange world that this guy lives in.
Clipping.
No, it is not.
Yes, you are. Come on,
dude.
You're not
I
making
don't
an
give
argument.
A shit about.
Make an argument. Don't say nonsense
The
words like
argument
rape.
is that what you are suggesting
is
that a woman who is raped has a responsibility that has been bestowed upon them by the rapist. The rapist has chosen you. If I shoot you in the face, I have caused you I have imparted upon you a responsibility. What you're talking about is fascistic. It is
Sam, do you think
disgusting.
that if someone commits a crime against you...
And so I'm sorry I said Rape Empowerment Act and tried to do it in a more satirical way. But what you're talking
your
about
logic
is
centers are
disgusting.
shutting down.
And listen, no.
You're getting overly emotional.
No, I'm not.
You are not speaking logically anymore.
No. What you're
when
doing
a victim
is
of a crime, when
you
a person
are
is
doing
a
what you
victim of a
always
crime,
do.
they have
You're
to file
trying
paperwork
to pretend
get
like you
accountability.
can find something in here, but
You're
it
not
is
talking about the argument
absolutely
anymore.
nonsense. Yes, it is.
You are no longer talking about the issue,
because
nor the law.
everybody sees. Oh, I am
You are getting
definitely
overly
talking
emotional.
about it. I don't.
You're talking about my person. You're doing ad hominems.
no.
You've lost it.
No. Here's
Sam,
the point.
let's start with
You're
the law.
so full of crap.
You see,
it's
here you go.
amazing.
You can't even make an argument anymore, can you?
I don't need to, because
You don't need
everybody
to make
who's watched this,
arguments.
no. Everybody who's watched this knows
He's
that
watching you have an emotional
you're
breakdown on
saying that a rape victim has a responsibility that has been bestowed upon them by the rapist. It's gross. It's disgusting.
You are having an emotional breakdown right now.
I'm not having an emotional breakdown right now.
Do you think the police
I'm getting
should be...
exercise
you want to wait?
because I'm thinking of my daughter.
Here we
and
go.
I'm thinking of my daughter.
Here it is.
And I'm thinking of the idea that a
Sam.
rapist could force her to do something
Sam,
that
you're spiraling.
No,
You're
I'm not
spiraling.
No.
You're spiraling.
Tim,
you're not even
afraid
stopping talking
because you just
you're not even
found
stopping
out
talking.
You never
you're gonna,
think
you're
out
gonna, you're gonna,
anything
you're gonna,
that you
we're gonna
say,
say something.
and
We're
you're
gonna
upset
talk, or are you gonna
that I
keep
just
talking about
faced
nonsense?
you in front of all of your
Are you
audience.
gonna wait for your prop
The
clipping?
Rapist
You're prop clipping,
Empowerment
Sam.
Act.
You're prop clipping.
I don't even know what that means.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You're
What does
prop
it mean?
clipping again.
What is prop clipping?
You're not arguing abortion anymore.
What is prop clipping?
You said, Tim, you're full of crap. You're not arguing abortion anymore.
Because
you disgust me. Oh, rape, blah, blah. You stopped
You're
arguing.
saying
you
that a
stopped
rapist-
arguing and you started doing performative garbage for the camera.
No.
I'll show you in a second. This has got like 60 seconds to go. Why the one who's being performative is Tim Pool, and the evidence in and of itself that Tim Pool does not think through anything that he says, which is the accusation that Sam's just made.
No, I'm
You
not
want to
doing
have a
performative
discussion, Sam?
Dude, the best part of
do you
this
want to have a discussion,
was
or are you going to keep
tying
talking?
you in knots about
You
the
wanna have a
idea
discussion?
that a rapist can force a woman.
Here you go again.
to go in.
Here you go again. You're making things up.
I'm reiterating.
You're prop clipping.
I am reiterating.
You're prop clipping.
I am
Sam,
reiterating your
You're
position.
getting overly emotional. You're getting heated. You're finger pointing. You're throwing slurs and name calling. You're
What's
full
the
of
slur?
Well, I forgive me. You're so full of crap. You disgust me. Blah. This
You-
is not an
honestly,
argument. You want to have a
I gotta
discussion?
be honest with you.
You want to have a discussion, or you're gonna have an emotional breakdown?
You know what? I am going to continue with the so-called emotional breakdown because honestly, I think
that's right.
No,
Sam.
I honestly.
Let's solve our problems by Sam
I
just
honestly-
freaking out and having emotional breakdowns on camera.
I honestly think that like
Come on,
what you
Sam.
do is so damaging.
Oh no!
And this
Here he goes.
whole notion that you would allow
It took 2 hours
for
and 40
race-
minutes for you to break.
Yeah,
You
this
broke.
whole
Sam.
Why are you keeping
broke.
me from talking?
Because you haven't
If
let
you
me talk
think
one
I'm-
time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Victims of crimes who want accountability have responsibilities.
What if they don't want accountability? What if they don't want to put themselves on the stand and have to point
they
out
don't get
that
accountability.
guy? Okay, but they have to carry the baby, right? According to you,
If they don't want accountability, then this is a.
then they have to carry the baby.
This is reality.
Say it.
A woman.
Say it. If they
I will
don't
say it as
want
plainly
accountability,
as I can say
they
it
have to
100%.
carry that rapist baby.
If a woman does not want accountability for her rape, she will carry that baby.
She has to.
She has to. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Up to 15 weeks.
That's the prop clip I want right
Up
there.
to 15 weeks.
I mean, I think we have come to an agreement.
Clip number 1, Chewy. Your thoughts, sir?
That is probably one of the most frustrating clips I have ever watched.
Yeah.
And if I was in Sam Seder's position, about halfway through that, I'd be trying to make Tim Pool eat his own chair.
But
live
that's the
on
problem.
camera.
If you react in that sort of way, then they go. I mean, this is the gish
Oh.
gallop, you know. Then they go, well, we've
And
won.
that-
It's like on Twitter, someone starts arguing with you on Twitter, and eventually you kind of go, I've had enough of this, and they go, yay, we've won. That was you just saw. You always say the Herald comment section. You just saw a Twitter thread in real life.
That's absolutely what it is. That constant over talking, that you're doing this, you're doing that. I'm just going to repeat the same. I'm just going to repeat. I'm just going to repeat. I'm just going to break your flow. I'm just going to prop clipping, whatever. It's just made. It's just done to make someone flip the fuck out, and then you can claim the moral high ground. It is absolutely what he wanted to do. And go, look, he's all emotional. Like, I don't see how you can. I don't see how you can remain unemotional unless you're an absolute psychopath with some of these things that they're talking about. It's just madness. I feel like I'm going crazy.
Well, I've got
Because
one more
to me, this is
clip to send you over the edge.
a clear-cut discussion. Like, it's always theoretical. What if it's rape? What if it's... Who the fuck cares? Let's ask the person that's going to live with this for 9 months or 18 fucking years. It's their decision. That's it. Put it to bed. Every rational, like, if you have a religious belief that people shouldn't have abortions, cool. You can enforce that up to the limits of your own body. That's fine. Put it to bed. Like, it's just mental to me.
Well, I want to show you one more clip, and this is much shorter. But this is Tim talking a little bit about if the fetus, the unborn, the baby, the life inside the mother is viable, then no abortions. So up to 15 weeks. And then, of course, Sam ties them up in knots with what's viable. And even Tim's like, I don't know, 22, 28, 15 weeks, whatever. And it's like, so you have these big ideas, but no details to actually work out what would happen. It's easy to have a big idea, but when you drill down into it and go, well, how would this work? And I used to do it on Talkback. I'd say to callers, and then what? Like just that. That's all you say. And then what? You know, to get to the bottom of it. And very, very rarely can someone in this sort of world go more than 2 or 3 and then what's deep, because they've never really thought about their headline. They've heard a political figure say it, or a religious figure say it, or a podcaster say it, and they've never actually gone below it to see what that means. So this part of the conversation that we're going to wrap up with is talking about the unborn being viable, then there should be no abortions allowed.
I agree. There's an issue where if the baby can survive on its own, there's no reason to kill it.
Well, I mean, would you be in favor of a woman getting a C-section in 4 or 5 months just because she doesn't want to carry the baby anymore?
If the baby can survive on its own, my position is typically the woman can make that choice, as long as the baby's not being killed. But, you know, so you know how they perform abortions after that point?
How they perform abortions after what?
Like there's varying degrees of how abortions are performed. So
Yes.
the question I have is this. Let me put it this way. You know,
Like dilation and extraction, or you're talking about in terms of
my
yes.
position largely is we've got two real distinct worldviews on this one that are extreme ends. They neither agrees with each other, and I'm trying to navigate in between to get people to be like, look, there's got to be some standard.
Dude, these are the ideas behind anti-abortion are primarily religious fundamentalism, and it is about maintaining a gender hierarchy. And the idea that you can negotiate, you're basically taking Hillary Clinton's position from 2004.
Probably.
And it doesn't work that way. The fundamentalists who are pushing this ideology, and it's largely fundamentalists, and if not directly, certainly downstream from a religious fundamentalism, they're not interested in your compromise. It is, and the proof.
That's the other game that some of these Tim Pool things, they look for a compromise. There is no compromise to a so-called pro-lifer, which is not actually an accurate term. What they're saying is, especially in America, they're not pro-life, they're pro-live birth. Because if they were pro-life, they'd care about the baby after it was born. And most of these pro-lifers are also people who are very anti things like welfare and, free things for children and stuff. But the baby's there, that's where they then go, right, my job's done. And there is no compromise for many within that group, which Sam is about to explain.
Proof of it is
Not interested in yours.
I'm not compromising. The proof of it is after 50 years, there was a compromise. It was Casey, exactly what you're talking about, which is why when you asked me at the beginning, I said, at the very least, go back to Roe v. Wade and maintain those protections. But that equilibrium was not enough for the right-wing Republican Party. And so, therefore, that's where we're at now. That's the end of story.
And now we have states with no restrictions, and we have states with absolute restrictions.
There was a compromise, and the right wing in this country did not want it. That's it. That's why this is why a debate. And you have an individual right that has cost the lives of multiple women across the country. It is increased infant mortality, like I said, at least in Texas, by 15%. And I think it also, and I think it's much harder to measure this, but it subjugates women in this country because it basically says you have less rights to have bodily autonomy, and that's just the beginning.
Second clip. And let me just wrap up this, Chewy, by saying this. The reason, and look, we love Sam. We would like to talk to Sam as much as possible. He could come on every single day if he wanted to. But the question that Sam didn't ask was this mythical idea of removing babies when they're viable and allowing them to continue on. The question that wasn't asked, so who pays? Who pays for a 21-week baby that's now in intensive care?
Tim Pool. Tim Pool
Tim Pool is a libertarian. This is the thing: who pays? And I just did a little bit of research about America, about prem babies in the NICU. Here we go. How much is it to say a week in the NICU? Well, it can be $8,600 per day. $8,600 per day to stay in it. Now, if we have a look at some research that's come out, if the baby is 24 weeks, their average length of stay is 123 days, up to 31 weeks. And then it goes down to 34 days. That is over $1 million at 24 weeks. And that is something like $400,000 or $500,000 or $300,000 at 34 weeks. And with him being a libertarian, the one question that Sam didn't ask was, so who pays? Because it's all good and well to have this idea, which is a ridiculous idea. I'm with you. But who pays? The only good thing I think I got from it, and I'll do this at the end, Chewy. That's pretty much me on that thing. And I've got one more thing to show you about Tim Pool, but that's about it for now. $1 million. So Tim's okay with $1 million being spent on a 24-week baby by choice being put into NICU.
At the end of the day, it's all theoretical for Tim. Like he's not a woman. He's not going to have to. It's all theoretical. And like the dude pretends to be a libertarian, and like every dude that pretends to be a fucking libertarian, they're not. They're not. Like if it's libertarian, if it's individual choice, make it individual choice. It should be a really easy position for a libertarian to go. It is the person's, it is the individual's decision what they do. They have bodily autonomy over themselves. The state should not get involved in their decision. All perfectly reasonable libertarian positions to take on abortion. It's a medical procedure, you know, but it's always messed up in religion and more traditional right-wing US thinking on what should happen with women's bodies or the decisions that they make. I keep coming back to the fact, because of course they're talking about rape, not that it matters. I don't care what the reason that the woman wants an abortion. She's someone that has made that decision. And I'm sure in the vast, overwhelming majority of cases has agonized over that choice. Men, talk to the women in your lives, and maybe they will tell you if they have experienced a sexual assault. And I fucking guarantee you, if they trust you enough to tell you, it will make your blood run cold. The percentage of women in your life that you know that have had to deal with sexual assault. Maybe they went to the cops. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just tried to carry on their life. Maybe they had to deal with a situation like, oh shit, I'm carrying this fucking rapist's baby. Maybe they didn't. But it makes my blood run hot and cold at the same fucking time that here we are in this place in human development, and we are still, they still have to deal with that, and there's still dudes talking about it on fucking podcasts like it's our fucking business. It drives me absolutely batty. Politicians can stay in their fucking lanes and argue about tax and military defense and all of this sort of stuff. The state steps into a woman's decision like this, they should be burned alive. I think I've made my position.
I have one thing that I want to say I'm impressed about by Tim. And this is this. I don't think there's too many people in the world, no matter how much you watch him every single day, that if he walked past you without his beanie on, you would not recognize him. The way he looks with a beanie versus without. I'm being serious. This is the one thing about Tim Pool. Obviously, millions of people watch him, that kind of stuff, but he'd be able to walk down the road without his beanie on and no one would recognize him. Here's Tim Pool without his beanie on. Don't you reckon? No one would recognize him. Tim Pool, rando dude in the street.
Changes the whole shape of his head. Look, at the end of the day,
Tim Pool,
in my view, rando. Tim Pool is a paid Russian agent there to sow culture war nonsense, and that is exactly what he's doing. Like we talked earlier today about the US elections, and one of the things that might decide this is what women think is important to them. It is a major issue for what people vote for, abortion rights. So for someone that has taken Russian money to shape people's opinion in the US sphere of influence, fuck Tim Pool. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's not a libertarian position. It's a contra position.
Yeah. And
it is there to absolutely divide and conquer, split the electorate into an argument that is immediately so personal and so emotive for so many people. Like you said, there's no position of compromise here.
Mm.
You can't take the middle ground on this. And that is absolutely perfect for someone that wants to do culture war.
Well, team, it's been a lovely night to be with you. Nothing at all difficult or ugly we talked about tonight. It was all peace and mung beans, I think. Cool. Now, it's going to be a very busy week, you're aware of. There is going to be, American elections information every night you'll be aware of. There's also potentially going to be positions and ideas and stuff that some of you don't agree with, do agree with, are on board for, aren't on board for. And look, this is not said in a bad way, because this is fine. I had a couple of people recently withdraw their Patreon because something has been said on the show that they don't 100% agree with, and that's all good. I mean, they've also been very nice about it. They just said, keep going, do the good stuff you're doing, and stop doing the stuff we don't agree with. And this could be one of those weeks that's a bit more of a controversial week with a few more controversial things going out, whether it's me or Chewy with a position, or some positions going up that you don't necessarily, or you wonder why we're talking about that. Well, I guess a lot of it's going to come down to what America's talking about and what's important to look at. Chewy talks about women vote more than men when it comes to the elections, and there's between a 20 and 40 point gap between some states and women of Harris over Trump. And it's just going to be one of those weeks. It's going to be one of those weeks where, I guess, like we've been taught by our hairless leader, that once in a while this week we might all get a bit of a lose-lose, Chewy. Not always a win-win from time to time. There is a quick comment in the super chat that's been there for a while from Mr. Alex, just wondering, Pat and Chewy's opinion, if it is time the sale of fireworks be banned. Also ban the Boom Facebook page, which is run by SPCA volunteers and animates as running a campaign as well to ban the sale of fireworks. Chewy, both you and I are dog owners. Happy to answer the question. Let me say this before we answer the question. We appreciate the super chats, but just because you pay for a super chat doesn't necessarily mean your tweets are always going to get used. We had a conversation the other night where someone said something in the chat about a particular politician that I chose not to show, even though it was a super chat. So just so you're all really clear, actually appreciate the super chats. You're amazing, right? They help us out a lot, but it's not a guarantee that your comment will definitely be used. Like, for example, it's the end of the show. Don't mind throwing an off direction comment question in for a quick answer. But in general, just so you guys know, when you do this, it doesn't mean 100%. Chewy, what are your thoughts about fireworks?
Look, I think I watch so many war movies and play so many video games that my dog doesn't notice fireworks. It just sounds normal. But look, I think that Guy Fawkes, as fun as it was in my late teens and stuff like that, it doesn't make any sense. Why are we setting off Chinese fireworks to celebrate a failed political assassination in a completely different country? It makes no sense. It has no relevance to this country. It causes very clear harm to animals. There's always deaths. There's always fires. And I think if we want to do something like that, well, what's wrong with public displays? Like, there is fireworks going off around my house for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, because people will stockpile these sort of stuff. There's so many reasons to get rid of it. Like, Guy Fawkes is a stupid thing to celebrate. If they were talking about fireworks for Matariki displays or something like that, yep, cool. If they're public displays, let's do that. Yep, Guy Fawkes is pointless, stupid, makes no sense in this country. It should go.
I kind of like it. I don't have enough of a problem with it to all of a sudden go, let's ban it. Like, I don't have that much of an issue with it. I get it.
I think it's lame. Like, I stopped doing it. Like, I when I was flatting, I did I'd spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on fireworks, invite people around, and I stopped doing it.
I did it with my kids, when they were younger. Haven't done it for quite a long time. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Not that I don't do it, but I don't also get the sense of getting rid of it. It's a necessity. I mean, put it this way, if it disappeared, I'd be like, nah. I mean, I remember being a kid and having double happies and having soldiers in the backyard and making bombs and having them blow up and that kind of stuff. It was all good fun. None of that exists anymore anyway. The fireworks is quite lame.
Every year at that time, when you talk about double happies, a double happy would get put in a cat.
Yeah,
stuck on the cat's bum and blown up and stuff like that. Kids would be losing their fingers and shit like that. It's, and that's the thing. The big bangers and the skyrockets, they've all gone because they are ultimately dangerous and people do stupid things. And now we're down to really lame stuff like Roman candles and fucking sparklers and stuff. And I just don't see the point There wasn't a point before.
I mean, I'm with you that they're kind of lame. I mean, they're not really any good anymore for sure. All right, so I guess I'm like, don't really care. Need to ban them. Don't feel the need to ban them. Don't know. Not such a big deal. I'm not even that much into public displays, Chewy, because you go there and for 7 minutes you're like whiz, 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 and then it's all over anyway. You wait for an hour for it done. Whatever. Look, I had this. We didn't do this last week. I had this conversation with my kids about how stupid and pointless Halloween is, and I feel a bit the same about Guy Fawkes purely for kind of one reason. It's a Northern Hemisphere celebration. That's why kids here in New Zealand have to stay up for Guy Fawkes until 9:30 at night till it gets dark. We had kids coming to our door on on Halloween at 4:55 in the afternoon. That's not how you do it, and they don't understand it. It's trick or treat. I said to my kids, "What's trick or treat all about?" And she went, "Getting lollies." I went, "What are you going to do if someone says trick?" Because that's the thing. The person comes to the door and they say trick or treat. You give them a treat, or you tell them you want to see a trick. That's what it's about. And I said that to my youngest, and she went, "Oh, just run away. It means nothing. It's not part of our culture, and we do it wrong." Sorry. So I'm going to be anti-Halloween. You can be anti-fireworks. And today we cover it all off. And Rachel's going to say, remember Parihaka at Rock Anderson's Bay at 7 a.m. Remember Parihaka at Rock Anderson's Bay. Cool. Are we good?
Yeah, I think I have one thing to leave off on the abortion thing. Like these guys would like these babies born, right, for non-specified reasons, but ultimately it comes back to the fact that they can be Christian. We've tried this in the past, and we end up with a whole bunch of orphans given up to the church in homes, and we all know what spectacularly shitty lives those kids had at the hands of the church. They were abused sexually, physically, murdered, buried in mass graves, all of that sort of stuff. Let's not do that again. Let's just learn the lesson.
Yeah, that's good. See, look, fireworks for Matariki. I think that's a great idea because it's the right season as well. It gets darker earlier. Kids can do it. Big display. Bang, bang, bang. Bing, bang, bong. All good. All right, team. We've gone over to our 96-minute hour, and I guess that's probably about it for us. All right, Chewy, that's me. I've got nothing else really to add. Anything you want to wrap up with?
No, I've blown my foo-foo valve well and truly.
Foo-foo valves have been well and truly blown. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. We'll be back tomorrow night live from 9 p.m. I mean, will we call it a election special? Well, we're probably going to be talking about lots of New Zealand stuff as well, but we will spend a bit of time tomorrow night on the US election as well. So we'll catch you all then tomorrow night live at 9 o'clock on Big Hero News. Hooroo, team.
Cheers, fam.